sang this song to me. There was a message in its melody, sweetest lyrics that I ever heard. There's a message in the songs of birds. Tomorrow is another day. Living is the only way. Tomorrow's gonna ever come. Listen to the words of the song. Everything gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be.
Greetings and welcome to A Sip of Inspiration. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, known as the Empowerment Doctor. And today's session, we're going to talk about how to change your life and live your dreams with Randy Belham. I want to do my housekeeping because you all know that my coach always gets on me about that. So you can find us at champagneconnection.com. That's champagne like the liquor. Remember, it represents life is too short to not have everything that you need, that you think you need, and connection.com. On there, you'll find websites, you'll find merchandise, you'll find videos, and you'll also be receiving a link to the Blueprint of Financial Success. So I want you guys, when it comes to your email, to tell me what you think about that. So that's where you find me. And then I have to let you know that Rise is still one of our sponsors. So when you need a supply company to rise to your needs, call Resource Industrial Supply and Equipment. They've been our sponsor for several years now, and I'm really grateful to have them. Now, with that being said, I want to thank Randy for taking time to appear on my show today. I am so excited to have him. He too is a coach and an author. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit about his bio, and then I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about yourself. So my guest today is Randy Belham. He's a life coach. His website is Randy, RandyBelham.com. So be sure you visit his website. He's got a lot of information on the website, and he has done some great things in helping people actually live their lives and just be able to experience the dreams that they usually only just could think about. Randy has a wealth of knowledge in mindfulness, positive psychology, and personal development. And as a life coach, he works with individuals and businesses to help them achieve their goals and reach their full potential. Randy empowers his clients to overcome obstacles, develop greater self-awareness, and cultivate resilience through customized coaching programs and training sessions. Randy's approach is centered around helping individuals and businesses lead fulfilling lives personally and professionally. You know, we've talked about you've got to have fulfillment both places, personally and professional, if you're going to have a good life. So thank you for joining me, Randy. I really do appreciate having you here, and I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you so much for having me here. I mean, this is a wonderful experience to be here and speak with you and everyone that's listening.
And my audience is going to love it too. So they're listening. So you guys know, remember, we're on Facebook on my personal page. That's Empower DR. My business page is Empowerment Doctor, the whole thing filled out. And then, of course, we're on YouTube. And you can see us any place podcasts are featured. So I'm sure out of all the 20 platforms we're on, one of those are your favorite. So feel free to send in questions. You can put them in my Facebook page. As usual, I do have my cell phone on the side here so that I can get your questions. So I do have a series of questions. And of course, one is the obvious, is what inspired you to become a life coach? And how do you assist your clients in reaching their objectives?
Well, the original inspiration that came to me to become a life coach was about 6 years ago, where I lived with Thai monks, the Buddhist monks in Thailand, for 3 months, which was a place which was a lot of mindfulness, inner peace. And these monks, they're just they're probably the happiest group of people I've ever encountered in my life. They're just so happy. So that really shook me profoundly inside, because I said, you know what? If I could just bring this happiness or part of it to the Western world, people would be farther ahead in their lives in terms of happiness. So that's where the original inspiration came from. I continued my traveling because I was still on my own journey of finding this fulfillment that I needed, or what I was looking for. So it didn't take until COVID hit where I said, you know what? I think my time is now, and I decided to do a course to become a certified life coach, and that's where that path took shape.
I actually liked COVID, so I guess that would make me a little odd. I enjoyed being locked up with myself. I enjoyed finding out the things that bubbled up that I was not aware of. And I enjoyed having the time to work through those. So how did it work for you? Did you have the same experience? Because that wasn't everybody's experience.
No, well, exactly. Like I'm a person of, when I see something that's happening that changes our course in life, is to take advantage of that. And one of a close personal friend of mine who's really close to Tony Robbins, he said, Randy, don't ask yourself, why is this happening to you? Ask yourself, why is this happening for you? So when this COVID situation happened, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I had, an investment in Bali and a dive center that was there. I did my scuba certification, etc. But I was stuck in Canada. And I said, how can I use this time to my benefit where I can actually, move forward? So COVID for me was actually a blessing in disguise.
Yes, mine too. I said, okay, I always said, God, if I had time, I was going to do this. And I did it. So it's fantastic. What are some of the key factors that contribute to your well-being, and how do you define them? And then a little curiosity about the experience with the monks is, did you find their way of meditating different from things that you have found in other countries or more Western-like countries? And is there something that we could develop or actually incorporate in our own lifestyle?
Sure. So two questions. So the first part is that, what I use with my clients is really the mindfulness, building resilience to, events like COVID or, maybe a death in the family, might be a divorce, might be these things that, life throws at us right, left, and center all the time, but building that resilience. What's also key is to build positive relationships with people. We hear about these toxic relationships. Is to build, to get rid of that and to build this positive relationships. And the final thing is to live with a sense of purpose. Oftentimes when I speak with people, I ask them, what's your purpose? And they have trouble answering that question. Or what is your dream? And people are like, well, my dream. And we ask children this question, right? What's your dream? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a fireman. I want to be all these things. But as adults, what is your dream? So that's where I start, focusing on looking at to find this well-being. To go with the question of the monks and the Thai forest monks in particular, well, they obviously they're Buddhist monks, and they really believe in the the Buddhist words and what that means. Their meditation is really focusing on the breath continuously as much as you can. Of course, you have the monkey mind. The more we do it, the less the monkey mind comes down. But it's not to push away the thought. It's really to acknowledge that thought without judgment and just say, hey, this is a thought. It's not me. It doesn't belong to me. It's a movie I'm making up in my mind, because it's not a reality. And then noticing which emotion is being attached to that thought. So to say that things are different, from my experience, because I did start meditating earlier on in life, but it was more, guided meditation or, in a yoga class that they'll meditate, and without no real instruction of, what is meditation. And there's many, many different kinds of meditation. But in particular, this one is really to look at the attachments that we have between our thoughts, our emotions, and then the outside world, how we attach to everything.
So in the positive relationships part, so most people do believe that all their relationships are positive, or at least that's what they tell themselves anyway.
Sure.
So how do you help them identify what a positive relationship is, as opposed to one that's not a positive relationship? Well,
at the end of the day, as a life coach, my practice is really to find the answers within the person, my client, the person that's in front of me. So it goes with a series of open-ended questions, which would be, what is your purpose? What are your values? And once that's established, then these positive relationships is, if they bring in a person, like it could be a friend, it could be Of course, a loved one, which is, it's a little more delicate, is how does this person serve you in attaining your purpose? And that answer will start coming up, and those answers will start coming by asking those questions appropriately.
So have people had surprises? And are they often surprised about who they valued or thought they should value? And is it difficult for them to come to terms with that?
Yes, of course, and like you said, people don't, people believe that they have, most of their relationships are positive, right? Even, unfortunately, there's people that are in very toxic relationship where there's physical abuse or sexual abuse, and they still have this positive, or they think it's a positive because I love them or I love this person. But at the end of the day, that surprise does come up because, and it doesn't mean you get rid of that person. That's not, that's not the whole point of coaching, but it's really to acknowledge that it's there and what can be done to fix that situation. Or, obviously if it's a question of safety and, we're talking about, the worst case scenarios, then of course there's something that has to be done there. But in general terms, yeah, some people are surprised, and it's about also asking what they bring to the relationship. Oftentimes we feel that, oh, well, I'm willing to go 50% of the way if the other person's willing to go 50% of the way. Whereas the real positive relationship is I'm bringing 100% to this relationship without any expectation.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You bring it all or you bring none of it.
Eventually the other person might not bring anything, and that'll be a light, that'll be a sign saying, okay, I've done my 100%. I'm fully invested. I've been working and I'm doing what I need to do. This person's not serving me. It's not serving my purpose. It's not serving my values. We don't have the same values. Then something must happen at that point.
So for the next question, I'm going to sort of go back to thoughts and attached emotions some. So are people often surprised of the emotions that they discover that are attached to their thoughts?
Yes, because we often, like I've been practicing meditation, so I'll use myself as a reference. But when I get that emotion of like a negative emotion of whether it's anger or sadness, my first instinct now, because I've been practicing meditation, is what's the thought? What did I just think to create this emotion? Oh, I was thinking of a past experience, right? Someone that did me wrong, or there's fear in there, like if someone cuts me off on the highway, for example, and I get like, I get this, and like my thought is, oh my gosh, there could have been an accident. There's no accident, but there could have been. So that's my thought. So when you asked me that question about my clients, and yes, they're very surprised as what comes up when they start questioning these thoughts of like, even when I say your thoughts aren't real, people are like, what do you mean they're not real? They're very real. Like, well, no, you can't touch them. You can't smell them. You can't see them. You can't, they're in your mind. They don't belong anywhere else. They say, yeah, but I remember a past story. That story happened, that event happened. Yes, it's your perspective of that event. Because you ask somebody else that was at that same event, and they can have a very contrasting, and that's a lot of times arguments start from that, especially in couples, right?
That's right.
That's not what I said. That's what you said. So it's like, yeah.
And this is what you did. I didn't do that. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember I used to be like terrible in traffic and don't cut me off. And then I realized that somewhere down inside, I believed that I wouldn't make it where I needed to go on time if they cut me off. And then I said, well, that's ridiculous because you gave yourself enough time. So once I let that go, traffic's fine with me. I'm going to get where I need to go and I need to be there, and it's going to be fine. And I don't have to have my blood pressure raised. So you're right. This like that thought and emotion, figuring that out of the connection to the two is actually powerful.
It's a powerful thing, and you talk about road construction. Montreal, where I'm from, is literally the construction capital of the world. Like road construction has been going on here everywhere. There's orange cones everywhere for the last 20 years. It's like the whole city's under construction. But yeah, so it does play with your emotions. Definitely, driving is a big one.
I think Chicago has you beat. You know, we have two seasons, winter and construction. Okay. Can I say?
Okay.
Winter and construction. Those are two seasons. I used to think they were kidding about that when I moved here. It's like, no, they're not. They're serious.
Yeah. Montreal, same.
Yeah. So, and you do have to be careful because people are in a hurry. And
Yes.
when I figured that out, it's like driving is much more fun now.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we integrate mindfulness and positive psychology to improve our overall well-being?
Well, there's a numerous few things that we can do. Number one, obviously, is meditation. You know, a meditation practice, I call it's gym for the mind. People that say, "Oh, you know, I've tried meditation, it doesn't work for me." Like, well, how did you try it? What did you do? "Oh, I tried it for a day, I tried it for 2 days, or whatever that may look like." When you say it's the gym for the mind, it's the same thing as going to the gym on a regular basis, or any kind of, I say gym, it can be running or whatever that is, but any kind of physical activity. If you do it on a consistent basis, you're going to see a very big difference in your body, in everything that you're doing in your life. And it's the same thing with meditation. The more you do it, the better you become at it, the more aware you are of your mind, the more you're aware of your emotions. So it's really a question of building this practice in your life. I always tell my, people, start small. It doesn't have to be a 1 hour sitting down session it can be 5 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week. It can be once a week, whatever you commit to, but commit to it and make sure that it's consistent. So that's the meditation part that really allows you to see what your thoughts are, understand what your thoughts are. The other aspect is another tool is to look at is journaling. Powerful tool. So journaling in the morning and journaling in the evening allows you to really put pen to paper and put your thoughts on a piece of paper that's out there. Are you going to read it again? Most people never do. But it allows you to, write down what you're thankful for, allows you to write down what went really good today, especially at night, because whatever we go to bed with in our mind, this is what ruminates in our subconscious as we're sleeping. So getting up in the morning, it'll affect that state that you're in right first thing in the morning. So journaling is an extremely powerful tool. The other one is using positive affirmations. Now, there's some people, they say it's wishy-washy, it doesn't work. It's, if you take positive affirmations from a website, there's many websites. There's even an application called I Am, it's called.
Yes.
And it gives you these positive affirmations. They're good. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but building a positive affirmation around you. Example, I'm a procrastinator. You're not that, right? We're not a procrastinator. We tend to procrastinate. Everyone has a certain level of procrastination, but change that statement for yourself. Or I'm tired. No, I am energized. If this is something that's continually, I am energized. I feel energized. I feel this, because you're not something, you feel something. So it's just to change those and put them up in key places that you can look at, you can memorize and program the subconscious, because that's the key. Your subconscious is the one that's feeding you all this negative stuff continuously. It's its job to do that, right? We're looking at fight or flight continuously. I always use the bird on a wire. Where's my food? Who's going to eat me? Where's my food? Who's going to eat me? They're continuously, our animalistic brain is always doing that. It's always looking for areas of what's wrong, what's bad, what's this, what's affecting my life in a negative way. But using these positive affirmations that are geared and written for you, and programming your mind with that.
Yeah, I have them all over. I love the positive affirmations, and you can make them up as you go. Yes,
absolutely.
But starting out with some of the ones on the websites, you're right. There are a lot of websites. They can give you an idea about how to formulate one.
Sure.
And then you use the ones that speak to you. You don't have to use them all. And you don't need 1,000 of them either, because some people think that.
Right.
Put them up in the bathroom. mirror, on the refrigerator, on the
Mhm.
door, on your phone, on
your
your
phone,
screensaver, so you can
your
see.
your passwords for
Right.
whatever you're
Yes.
logging into, you know, that all these areas. So it's always key to that you're continuously feeding your subconscious this information.
And they do work. So they
Mhm.
work for me. They do work. People say they don't work, but they work.
They
Okay.
do.
They do work.
And it's consistency again, you know, like
Right.
if you just do it once, like, oh, it didn't work, it's the consistency and time that'll make it work.
So in the meditation part, sometimes people have trouble with meditating. I know I've tried several types of it, and I allowed myself to not be tied to one thing. And meditation does help. It helps a whole lot. You'd be surprised. And there's studies that even say that it lowers your blood pressure and
Mhm.
all that stuff. So it's really good for your health too. And that's some things that we don't hear about. But what do you find to be your clients' best way to meditate? What's their favorites?
I would say their favorites are, you know, most of my clients don't meditate. When they come to me, they're curious about meditation. So I talk to them about my experiences, you know, what I've lived with the monks and the school of thought that I lived with, which is it's called most people know it under the name Vipassana meditation.
Mhm.
Um, but it can be called, you know, mindfulness breathing. It can be called many things. And again, you know, meditation comes always down to focusing on something, right? So that you can notice your thoughts coming in and out. You know, it can be a mantra. You know, I was in India. I spent 2 weeks in an ashram last November. And that's the way they recommended to meditate, is really focus on a mantra. Like I want to be great at being a life coach, for example. Just focus on that and just keep focusing on that, focusing on that, focusing on that. And you know, does it work? Yes, because you're focusing on one thing, and the idea behind it is that you're focusing on this one aspect and allowing the thought, again, allowing that thought to come in on a cloud and saying, "Oh, that's a thought," and just acknowledging it again without judgment. Even if it's a bad thought, it's a horrible thought, it's like, it's not you, it's just your mind that's just creating this drama for you. So to answer your question, it, you know, most clients, like I said, they don't have that much experience, but I do meditation with them. And you know, we oftentimes will start off a session with the meditation because they'll, you know, I deal with high level CEOs, so they're like, you know, they're bombarded right, left, and center. So when they come in, they're oftentimes in a frantic space, and allowing them just to come down and say, okay, let's start noticing your thoughts here, let them go, and now we can go deeper into what really is you want to move forward.
How many times a day do you think people should meditate? What would you recommend?
Good question. 24/7. No, I mean, again, I don't think there's a right number. I think it's a question of just being on a consistent. It's like the gym, you know, it's like running, it's like any sport that once you start getting really good at it and you feel comfortable in it, you just want to do more and more of it. Like I even meditate with my eyes open at a stoplight in my car. What that means is just I'm there and I just start focusing on my breath. I'm just focusing as it's going in, as it's going out, as it's going in, and just noticing everything that's around me in that present moment and realizing there's absolutely nothing wrong right now. My belly is full. I'm driving a car, you know, I'm comfortable. The temperature's comfortable. Everything is great. Where things start getting ungreat is when my mind starts going to the future of saying, oh, this is coming up. This is coming up. I have to build this, have this. I got to do this. I got to do that. Or the past where, oh, this person did me wrong, or, you know, I forgot to do this. And then you say the negative affirmation. I'm such an idiot. I'm this, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, meditation you can do, you know, on the metro, on the subway. You start wanting to do it all the time because once you get into that meditative state, you realize that you're in the present moment and life is great.
Yes, it is. Michael Beckwith was talking in one of his recent sermons about sitting still and listening for an answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never tried that part before. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. You know, so I'm always trying new techniques. I do have favorites, but I just like to try new ones. And I said, okay. So I tried that. And lo and behold, an answer came to something that I was working on. It's like it just came. And I said, oh my God, I love this. This is a new twist. I love that. Because before it's been the breath or maybe even a mantra. Sometimes it's been just watching the thoughts go by and letting them go. But this was a little different. And I said, so for those of you who are not meditating, there are a lot of ways to do it. So, so if one doesn't fit, there's at least 99 more. So just try it, please.
Of course. And as you said, you know, if by being in this meditative state and you received an answer for something that you were looking for, without being in that meditative state, your mind is focusing on what's wrong, where's everything, is looking at that cup that's half empty continuously. That's its job to do that. So there's a huge testament to that.
So what are some of the common challenges people face when they attempt to make positive changes in their lives? And how can they overcome them? And I know there's a million ways, but what are some ways that the people listening to us tonight can try in their own lives?
So the first, I would say one of the biggest challenges is the resistance to change.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're comfortable, right? However, growth cannot ever happen in comfort. We have to step outside that comfort zone. So what happens is when we get to to an uncomfortable zone, like if we equate it to like the temperature of your room, right? I don't know when, again, I'm in Celsius over here, but you know, whatever that is in Fahrenheit is, you know, there's a standard temperature, and that's your comfort. When it gets hot in the room, what do? You turn down the thermostat so it goes down to your. And it's the same thing of change. When we're resistant, we get to this heat or this cold, and we say, no, I don't like this. I want to go back to where I am. I want to start working out, for example. I want to go to the gym. You start going, and then it's like, I got to go to the gym again. I got to go to the gym again. This is uncomfortable. I'm going to go back to my old ways, or changing your diet, changing meditation routines, whatever. So the biggest thing is that resistance to change. How do you get over it? The first thing is to understand what your values are and have that very clear, whether it's written in your mind, whatever that is, because those values is what's going to lead you through this discomfort. Like I said, for the meditation, you know, we're looking at mindset. You know, I'm living with this unfulfilledness, for example, using meditation to understand that the present moment is beautiful. So getting through that and saying, you know what's really important for me right now, my value is I want to be fulfilled in life. That's what I want. I want to be fulfilled. How do I get there? Meditate. But I don't like meditate. Okay, it's going to be very uncomfortable. Okay, resistance to that change and just continuously reminding yourself and minding yourself to get to that. The other thing is also to make sure that you'd go by small steps. That resistance to change, we change too much, we go back to the old. The Atomic Habits by James Clear, fantastic book. Many people have read it. That 1% change, 1% compounded over time is a huge change at the end of the year or at the end of whatever time that is. So that 1% change, you know, I said it when the meditation, do 5 minutes a week, once a week, and then go do 2 after a week. Then 3, and then just slowly creep up like that. So that's some ways that you can, you know, change that. The other thing is the clarity part of it. People aren't clear of what they want to change. I want to be rich. Common one, right? I want a lot of money. What is that? What is that? What is a lot of money for you? Is it $100,000 in the bank account? Is it $1 million? Is it $1 billion? Is it $1 trillion? How clear are you on that, on what you want? Why do you want it? What's going to change in your life once you have it? All these things is all about clarity. So understanding what you need and what you want, that can help you. And then seeking the guidance to help you get through those stepping.
I found in working with people about money, they think it's going to fix something. Okay. And what they really end up with is just a lot of money. And they still have the same things to fix, right?
Absolutely.
So for those of you who are wanting a lot of money, I know that sounds sexy. Okay. It's just you just want to, it just sounds sexy, man. Right. Sure. And we don't want you not to have a lot of money, but just know that that sense of not feeling worthy, or that sense of just not having enough to live a life, that doesn't go away with a lot of money. So when you see people flashing a lot of money, that doesn't mean they're happy. That just means they have a lot of money.
That's right. That's right. And a really good book that is the Will Smith book, his autobiography. And in it, he says, you know, top rap star. I was the top movie star. I have everything. From the outside, people looking at me, I have everything. Money, money, but completely unfulfilled within. So he had to go on his own journey to find that fulfillment. And it goes back to the meditation and the purpose question, that clarity. And then also to reference people that win, the lottery, they get all this money. Most of them, they spend it within their first year, because they're not used to having it, and they're just like, oh, this is going to buy me. I'm going to buy a Ferrari. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy. But at the end of the day, they're not happy.
And I've discovered that, though, how you use your money and how it actually says a lot about what types of healing you need to do. So having the money won't do the healing for you. You're still going to have to do the work. So do the work, because the money will follow. You'll be surprised at how easily money follows once you have done the things that Randy has suggested. You sort of clear the pathway. You sort of get clear about what you want. You release all of those negative feelings and beliefs that you have about yourself. And then everything starts chasing you. All the good stuff chases you. You just have to choose wisely.
Absolutely. Because you're coming from a mindset of the opposite of scarcity, right? Of fulfillment. When you have that mindset of fulfillment, it's like, I don't need money. I don't need. When we chase something, it runs away, right? If a man chases a woman, what happens to the woman? See you later.
See you later.
But if the man plays more, hard to get, it becomes, or it's vice versa. I shouldn't say men, women. It works both for both ways, right?
That's right.
And that's the same thing with money. If you're continuously chasing money to have money and feel from this scarcity mindset, it's very difficult to come in.
So how do you assist your clients in developing greater self-awareness, and why is this important for long-term success?
Right. So to create the self-awareness, it's a process which it's called I use the ABC of coaching. The first A is really the awareness, right? And we can spend 6 to 8 weeks on just awareness. Where are you today? Where would you like to go in the next, 12, 24 months? Building, your personal vision statement, right? We have them for our companies. What are your values? Understanding what your values are. Looking into the meditation part, the aspect which we discussed before, and just creating the awareness of what you really truly want. What do you want? Not what your partner wants, not what your parents want, not what other people want. What do you want out of your life? Because, we talked about life. It's one shot. We have one shot at it. It's not a dress rehearsal. This is the show. So live the life that you want. And by creating that awareness, that's what propels you to the next step. And like I said, the B, which is setting these big goals and big goals and dreaming and because they are attainable. I had one client, he's a financial advisor. And I said, you can be the biggest financial advisor. You can be as big as you want. And he's like, how? I said, believe in yourself, because there is a biggest financial advisor. There is a biggest real estate agent. There is, Of course, it takes steps to get there. You can't do it overnight, but if you have the proper mindset. So building these big goals. And then the C is that consistent action that I talked about, consistently and being accountable for everything that you do that's moving you towards your goals in a meaningful way.
So in other words, you can't exercise one time and lose 100 pounds. So you can't do you can't do your goal one time and see $1 million at the end. It's got to be some consistency. So it really will help people listening if you can figure out what you want to do, as Randy suggested. So that's the first step. Now, people are always asking, and I know you get this a lot. So what's my life's purpose and meaning? How do I find that? That's just like the number one question. Like, so
sure.
How do you help people with that?
Well, like I said, you know, it comes down to the awareness of really peeling away at that onion. When you talk about purpose, is what makes you happy? Like what do you like to do? Where, you know, if you're in a job or you're in a situation that, you know, you're doing it because of the money and you know you have no way of getting out of that, of course that has to sustain you for the change or the transformation you're going to go through. However, it's really to go in and again looking at the values. What are your values, and marrying these things together, that will develop what your purpose is. How, you know, as humans, we want to help. That's, you know, it's innate. It's in our DNA. We want to help others. How do you want to serve others? Who do you want to serve? How can you serve them? And answering these questions, this is where the fulfillment part comes in. As we said, you know, we said about the whole money thing where I'm, you know, the guy that buys money, buys these Ferraris and these big houses and not serving anybody. They're not fulfilled inside. There's no purpose. The purpose or his goal is just to make the money. There's no purpose behind that.
So for people listening tonight, what's the number one question they need to ask themselves?
The number one question to start right away is, what are your top 5 values?
Okay, so those of you who are listening, what are your top 5 values? And I know you know by now, when you watch this show, you need pencil and paper in hand. Okay.
Right. And there's many websites that can get, you know, people get stuck on, well, what are there's sites that have like 300, 500 values, whatever you want, just to help you, you know, if you have trouble finding what those values are. So
there's a game I play with groups of people about values. It's kind of funny. It's called Trevor the Troll, right? So you get a list of, 150 values, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Trevor's going to cross 3 bridges. And the first bridge Trevor cross is going to cost 30% of those values. Mm-hmm. So you have to go pick out the ones that you're ready to sacrifice. And then Trevor crosses a second bridge and he has to do the same thing. And then the third bridge, he has to do the same thing. So now you've gotten some of those values, 90% of them out of the way. And then you're literally left with the things that are valuable to you. So you guys can try to play that game. I think it's a cool game. If you don't know where to get started or how to get started, just don't make it too hard, okay? It's like we're supposed to have some fun here. So it's a fun game. So find your values, and you don't have to agree with them, okay? Just work with what you have. Mm-hmm. And then you'll find out through meditation.
That's right.
What you really need to know. So fantastic. Now, I have a few more questions, but I'm anxious to talk about your book some. So let's talk about your book.
Okay, sure.
How did you get started? What made you write it? What are people saying? All of that stuff.
Right. So it came about, you know, the name of the book is How to Live in the Present Moment and Enjoy Your Life, which comes, you know, circles back to my time in Thailand and the monks living in the present moment, super happy. And again, they have nothing. When we talk about happiness, they have nothing. They renounce all their money. They renounce their name. They live with robes and they sleep on beds of concrete or wood. There's no mattress. There's no nothing. So they really have nothing. So anyways, the reason why I say that is because that's what propelled me to say, you know what, we can live in this society, in our Western society, with having all the things that we like to have and having these things that we're attached to, let's put it that way, and but also enjoy what's in front of us in any given moment, in that present moment. So that's what inspired me to write this book. The further inspiration, and it's on Amazon. It's an ebook format, and you can also get it on paperback format. The other inspiration I have is I worked with children. I founded an elementary private school, a summer camp for kids. Like I coach children as well, up to like 15 years old. So children are really, it's a special place, So what I wanted to do with the book is, I don't want to make any money from this book. So all the proceeds from the book goes to what's called the Breakfast Club of Canada. So that was the purpose. The main driver of the book is to give money to this organization and give somebody something in return for it, which was the reading of the book. So the Breakfast Club of Canada, basically, it gives breakfast to children that don't have breakfast when they come to school. And there's a lot of them. There's thousands in Canada. I mean, Canada's 1/10 of the population of the US, but it's still a lot of kids. And I said, you know what, I wanted to marry these two together and make sure that people, the children are fed.
That's fantastic. I think that is wonderful. So what are people saying about the book as they read the book?
Right. So when I first wrote it, I with people in my close circle, I sent them the PDF so they could read it, and they were like, "Wow, Randy, this is really good," because it's an easy, short read. It's not like a long, there's a lot of long books on meditation and mindfulness. I wanted something that's really quick, because our lifestyles, as you know, is very fast, and it's increasingly faster. The younger generation, they don't even want to read. Like, I have kids. I have two children, 22 and 19. They don't like reading. They don't want it. Like, anything they don't have to read, they don't read. So that's why I wanted to keep it really nice and short. And that's what people love about it, the book, is that it's an easy read, gets all the key points out, so that people can live, in the present moment.
So what have been some of the reactions to the book that you've received from people who read it?
People are really happy. Like, when they read it, they said, it's guided them. I had one guy that read it. He reached out to me. He's a recovering alcoholic, and they talk, in the 12 steps of sobriety, they talk about living in the present moment, and he didn't quite understand or grasp what that means. Living in the present moment mean I get my paycheck and I go spend it. I'm living in the present moment, right? So. So he said it gave him this insight that, okay, it's about looking at what we have in front of us, enjoying what we have, and be happy with what we have. That we're not any worse or any better off in the present moment. It's our mind that takes us to these really dark places if it chooses to. So people, that's one example. Another example is, one of my clients, she bought it. She was like, "Randy, this is a great initiative. Thank you." And she bought it, and she said that, I'm always living in anxiety. I'm always living in the future. I'm always like, for my kids, and the fear and all these things. She goes, this helped ground me and allowed me to say, hey, I'm okay. My children will be okay. Like, there's a path for them. Of course, we can kind of change our path, but things happen in life, and they may happen and they may not happen. We can't predict these things. So she was very thankful for that.
That's fantastic. I think that's pretty cool. And for it to support the school initiative too is really good, because I know not only in Canada, but even in the US, there are a lot of kids who come to school who haven't eaten and won't eat that day if they don't have a meal at school. And I think that it's difficult to think about stuff. It's difficult to clear your mind when you're hungry. People don't tend to understand that. But when you're hungry, you can't do anything else.
Absolutely.
And I know firsthand from being homeless is that When food is your number one thing, it's your number one thing.
Yeah.
You can't do anything else. So thank you for doing that. I think that's fantastic. So what are some of the most effective stress and anxiety management strategies to apply to our daily lives? Because we are all stressed out. According to the pharmaceutical companies, we're always trying to sell us drugs to relax.
Right. Funny enough, you laugh at that, but when I was with the monks in Thailand, they do talk. We're not allowed to talk in most cases. It's normally that one of the monks will give a talk, a Dharma talk. And one of the talks he gave one time was exactly that. He said, the Western society, they give you pills for everything. They give you medicine, you're stressed, medication, anxiety, medication. When it comes down to it, all that's curable, or the vast majority of it. Of course, there's, extreme cases, but the vast majority of it is curable just with being mindful in meditation. Understanding, because depression comes from what happened in the past. I'm dwelling in the past. Anxiety comes from what's going to happen in the future. So if we understand that these are just thoughts and we're capable of seizing that as they're coming up in the day, which doesn't happen unless you meditate and you practice gym for the mind, as I said before. Mm-hmm. So that's the key of being and having that self-awareness of saying, oh, I'm having this negative emotion. What's the thought? Oh, I'm thinking about what happened yesterday, or this bad event I had with my ex-wife, or whatever that may be, and it'll come up, it'll keep coming up, it'll always come up, these thoughts. There's no way of getting rid of them. But being able to understand them, label them, and not judge them, and hold on to them as like, this is true, this is a true emotion, this is a true thought, we're capable of developing this, this well-being within us.
Yes, we are. And as I said earlier, there's just a lot of studies on just how effective meditation is with our health. I mean, not only just blood pressure, but it lowers diabetes, it improves your happiness. It's actually the one thing we could do for ourselves that would help our lives tremendously.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. So what practical tools are available to help us cultivate greater resilience in the face of adversity?
The greatest tools that we can use is, number one, I mentioned it before, is journaling your thoughts, journaling what's happening, right? Because we're all going to deal with adversity. A bad event's going to happen. Understanding what that event is. Can we change it? Most times, no. It happened. It's in the past. Understanding that. What can you change about it? Asking that question to yourself, that reflective question. I can change my reaction to it. So you have this adversity, it's funny. I was watching the Arnold show on, I only watched one episode yesterday on Netflix, and he got second place in one of the competitions. He got one first, and he got second. That's adversity, right? It's like, what do you mean I'm not number one?
Right.
He didn't, because he's not that type of person, but someone could have just said, oh, I'm second, I suck, I'm this, I'm that, and they give up, and that's it. That's adversity. But understanding that adversity is part of the journey. Adversity is what makes us stronger. Asking the question of, why is this happening for me? We only understand that answer oftentimes, unless we're conscious about it, it can be years in the future. When I got divorced with my ex-wife, it was a very hard journey for me. It was very, very difficult. That's one of the things that prompted me to go to Thailand. Because I was asking that question, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? It wasn't until years later that now I'm with somebody and I have a partner, and it's the best love I've ever had. It's an amazing relationship, very open communication. Everything is really, really good. That I can answer that question. Why did that happen for me? But see, it took a long time for that to happen. When we can ask that question, why is this happening for me, in the immediate time, and just list it. It's very hard. It's difficult, because you're like, what do you mean, why is this happening for me? It's like, it's the worst thing that can happen to me right now. Right. But try to answer it and do like a, write it down in your journal and reflect on it. Why is this happening for me? And the quicker you can answer that question, the easier it will be to get through that adversity that you're dealing with.
That is true. That's the one thing that's difficult for most people, is to look at it as from the, I guess, positive side. Why is it happening for me? What did it come to teach me? What did it come to show me? It's got all of that. It's like this experience happened because there was something you needed to know. And I learned that it was even an answer to a prayer, because I needed to know this because I can't get over here until I take care of this. So if you look at it like that, it's like, we don't get all upset if we go outside and we're driving and see a hole in the street. We just go around it, but that's not what we do in our lives when things happen. So
Right.
Yeah. So if we could just think of, you're right, that's just perfect. And that's the question to ask. It's happening for me, or it's teaching me something, or it's opening my eyes to something. However you phrase that question, it's not something that came to destroy you. Just know nothing ever comes to destroy you. Absolutely. Even though sometimes I think I personally need the cosmic 2x4 to straighten up, but don't you guys be like me now. I need to take some of Randy's suggestions. Don't be like me. Don't need that cosmic 2x4. Right? So in journaling, I mean, you talked about journaling a lot, and people want to make it more difficult than it is. So I wanted to go back to that. So journaling can be done how? Because people think it needs to be fancy.
No. So there's a big difference, and maybe misconception also that, we had back in at least my day, we had these diaries, Dear Diary. That's one form of journaling, but to have this reflective journaling that I speak of is really to, and again, you can find questions on the internet, but is to ask open-ended questions, but positive questions to seek the good in what's happening. What happened? What am I grateful for today? Right. And someone said, wow, Randy, I'm grateful. It's the same thing every day. Okay, we'll start looking for other things. So what's going to essentially happen if this becomes a habit? What essentially happens, you're programming your subconscious to look during the full day so that you can answer that question at night.
Yes.
In your journal. Oh my gosh, that's a great thing. Oh my God, someone smiled at me today. Someone said hello. A stranger said hello. A stranger held the door for me. Sure, they're little things. But if we're looking at these little things, they add up over time and they become positive experiences. As much as someone yelled at me today. We'll focus on that, and we'll put a lot of weight on that, and we'll put a lot of, we'll even carry it. We can carry it for days. Like, that person was rude. Remember that guy that was rude? And we'll carry it with us for days. So the journaling is really about asking these open-ended questions. It can be just that one question. What am I grateful for today? And just answer that. And that's like how long will that take you? Is like 2 or 3 minutes. But as you do it, you're going to want to do more, because you're going to say, oh, wow, I see the positive effect. Another great question you can ask yourself is, who did I serve today? Who did I serve? Nobody? No, that's not true. You served somebody, unless, of course, you're at home all day and you work from home, but you may have served somebody online. You may have served somebody by an email. But it's to look for these things who you're serving. So it's just by asking these open-ended questions that your journaling practice becomes powerful. It's a habit, consistent action, and we have to put it into place.
Yes, I actually started using a Google Doc for my journaling, or in this case, I call it a gratitude list. So, and the rule with my gratitude list is there are no repeats. So I can't be grateful for waking up every day, and that's it, right? No repeats. No repeats. Right. And I have to list 5 things. So that means I'm always on the hunt for 5 things. But you'll be surprised once you all start to journal. It doesn't have to be fancy. Don't make it hard. Don't make it fancy. You don't have to have great journals. Even though a girlfriend of mine just gifted me a great journal that says, with the right pair of shoes, I can accomplish anything. So I love shoes. But it can, Google Docs work just as fine, or a regular tablet. But as Randy says, write something down every day.
Exactly.
Something every day.
And it doesn't even have to be legible, because as I said, most people don't even go back and look at it. It's
Right.
really about putting your mind to pen and paper, and it stops there. And it can be point form, it can be however you feel. Like, there's no rules to it. It's just getting that out there.
And if you do only one thing a day, by the end of the year, you'd have been grateful for 365 things. That is
Amazing.
a lot. Okay. And they would have been things that you would have otherwise missed.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one week, there was an article about no butterflies, and I went on my hike. I saw 20 butterflies. Okay. It's like I was grateful. I got pictures of every last one of them. So you'd be surprised what starts to open up for you. So please take Granty's advice and please start doing your journaling and meditating. So, what role does connection play in our well-being, and how can we build and maintain strong relationships with others?
Well, we referenced this a little bit before, but the connections that we have, they play a tremendous role. If you can imagine on the negative side of it, where you have this relationship with someone that's continuously telling you, you can't do that, you're ridiculous, how can that ever happen? What essentially happens is you believe it, right? As humans, the one thing that we want in a social setting is to be accepted. So going against that grain of saying, I don't believe you, I don't want to believe you, you're essentially saying, oh, I'm not going to be accepted. So we subconsciously, we accept what the person is saying to us. These are the kind of relationships that you have to question and say, it doesn't mean that you have to get rid of that person. What it means is you have to start setting up boundaries with that person. Say, hey, if you don't have anything positive to say, I'm just saying it the crass way. There's many really good ways to say it, but
no, that your way works. It's clear.
It's clear. Exactly.
Right. It's clear.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not on board with my idea, this job is not fulfilling. I want to change my job. Well, why do you want to do that? You're making all this kind of money. You're doing this. Don't be ridiculous. Blah, 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 blah. Right? We hear that, but it's not fulfilling me. I'd like to change. And if you're not on board on this, then please either help me or just stay silent, and that's okay too. So these relationships play a key role. If we look at our lifestyle, normally it's the 5 people that are closest to us that mirror what our lifestyle is. So if we look at, there's books been written and there's been research done on this, people that get out of their circle, get out of that, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that just popped in my mind. His goal was to get he wanted to be American. He wanted to be American before he even came to America. That was his goal. And he said, I have to get in the middle of the bodybuilding world to be the champ that I need to be. Those are the relationships that you have to create. Put yourself around those people, surround yourself with like-minded people that are going on the same direction as you are. So that's why those are key. How do you facilitate this? Well, like I said, like you can go to networking events. If you're a business owner and you want to build your business, you can go to, if you want to be healthy, you start going to the gym, or you start, joining Facebook groups, and just surrounding yourself with and building these key relationships. If there's toxic friendships, change them. Yes, they're your friends, but why are you holding on to this? What's the attachment there? And ask yourself that key question.
So those of you who know me know I believe that the universal presence created call waiting. So if people call and they're not on board, don't answer.
Exactly.
People are resilient. They'll stop calling. Okay. So, oh gosh, I want to thank you for spending this time with me and my audience. Is absolutely fantastic, and you've given us some great tips. So remind us of the title of your book again and where it can be purchased.
Sure. It's How to Live in the Present Moment, and it's available on Amazon.
And for those of you listening, remember that the proceeds of this book are actually donated to a very worthy cause. So please support Randy if you can in this, and be sure you take all of the tips, or at least one tip from tonight, and start to use that thing to change your life. So with that being said, and I know you guys are running around getting journals now and look and opening up Google Docs, because you know I'm going to ask you when I see you, right? Okay.
Amazing.
That's right. So with that being said, we're going to say goodnight, and may this day offer you all just what you need in each unfolding moment. Be inspired until further notice. I want you to celebrate everything. Say that again. Be inspired, and until further notice, celebrate everything. Do not go gently into that good night, but find the heel worth dying for and take it, and be the person that you have been waiting for. Make today so awesome that yesterday gets jealous, and above all else, do it your way. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, known as the Empowerment Doctor, and it has been a pleasure. So with that being said, we're going to say have a fantastic day and get started on your journal. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Life's too short to drink cheap champagne, so I decided to buy me a better brand to taste with my strawberry